Bluff City Media presents Tigers Live with Francis Carlota. Join Francis after every Memphis Tiger game as he breaks down each matchup, player of the game, and upcoming games. Now, let's get to the show.
Oh, Kenny, where'd
What's
you go?
up? Can you hear me? Can you see me?
I don't see you.
Hold on.
Not on the screen. There you are.
I'm back, baby.
Welcome to Tigers Live, everybody. I'm Francis Carlisle. That's Kenny Stubblefield after the Tigers get a win over the Rice Owls in a controversially called basketball game. I'll put it lightly.
Where do I keep going? I'm not trying to leave you, Francis. I promise.
I know you're not. How you doing, Kenny?
Man, I'm good, dude. I'm a little pissed off, to be honest with you. But we can talk about that. I mean, obviously, we'll talk about that later. There's a lot to talk about, I think, with just reffing in college basketball in general. But this game was egregious. I keep leaving. Yeah. So StreamYard did something new today, and I need to figure out how to fix this. But we'll figure this out in a second. Sorry, we're having some technical difficulties right now.
You hear the ghost of Kenny Stubblefield.
Am I still on the screen?
You are not. Let me try and add Roman. I'll do a 3 here. There you go. We're on here.
Hey, yeah, Kenny's on the screen on my end, so I don't know what's going on here.
You're good. You're back?
Yeah.
Cool. Roman, how you doing? Give me your thoughts on that win.
I'm doing all right. How are you?
I'm good.
Where did Roman go?
Roman's left now.
I'm here.
No, we know you're here, but hold on. I'm going to figure this out. Hold on. We don't want to lose you. We're bringing you back in. Boom. And
Kenny's gone.
I'm back.
And he's back.
Wow. Whoa.
This is incredible.
Whoa.
Incredible.
All right. Roman.
Okay. Are we good now? Are we good?
We're good.
Okay. Well, obviously, weird game. Weird game to say the least, for sure. The refs were not great. I think we can acknowledge that from the start. I'm very intrigued to figure out what PJ Haggerty was. Okay, I'm very confused right now. Am I on or am I off? Sorry, I'm distracted by the screen thing. What is going on there?
You're on. You're on.
I am on right now. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so I mean, but regardless of the refs, very, very nice way for Memphis to close out the game. Obviously, huge 14-2 run. It just seemed like, nice job of Memphis to step up at the end, really close out Rice. It really seemed like for maybe just a second they were going to let this one get away with them. Let the controversy with the refs and things of that nature maybe get to them a bit too much, but they quickly asserted themselves in the final minutes and pulled away here.
Yeah, very well said. It was just obviously the conversation is going to be dominated by the refs on how they called this game. Basically, what seemingly was one-sided on Memphis, just getting called for basically everything, and then not getting a lot of foul calls when Memphis deserved it on Rice. I know if you look at the foul totals were pretty even, but that doesn't make sense if you watch the game. It shouldn't have been like that. Memphis clearly did not get the benefit of the whistle that they deserved. PJ Haggerty didn't get the benefit of the whistle that he has deserved for the past few games. He at least went to the foul line this time, unless.
Francis, your mic's out.
We lost Frank.
Oh, sorry about that.
There.
Better now?
Yep.
Yeah. Sorry. I feel like PJ Haggerty has to just get mugged on the floor if he's going to get a foul call. And it has to be clear as day, blatantly obvious that it's a foul. And even sometimes then, PJ doesn't get it called. So, I mean, besides the refs, any other big headlines from the game for either goal?
Yeah, I think, Roman, and you can speak on this, I think Nick Jourdain had an incredible game tonight. I think he played incredibly well for the Tigers.
Yeah, he had a great first half. I mean, Dainja, despite being in foul trouble for basically the whole game, completely dominated Rice, especially at the end. He had 18 second-half points, most of which was with 3 fouls, and that's kind of why you saw Rice get a lot of the easy looks inside that they were getting for much of that second half, because Dain couldn't risk getting a 4th foul. He just couldn't. He was too important to Memphis, and he knew that, to his credit. But he was able to give Memphis basically everything he could on the offensive end to make up for, his limited defense there, again, because of the foul trouble. So I thought it was a real impressive performance for him as well.
Yeah, 100%. Jordan was incredible. Healing and self-love said, Jordan, offensive juggernaut. I don't think that was a word that we ever thought we'd use to describe Nick Jordan's game. But, I mean, he brought it tonight. I loved his off-ball cutting, his activity. He did a great job finding space in the middle of the floor. And they found Jordan every time he cut, and he was hitting his shots. He even hit an open 3 today. I mean, this was definitely Jordan's best offensive game all year, in my mind. I thought that's what we're looking for from Jordan. I mean, can we expect that consistently? Probably not. But at the same time, I'm just glad to see him be active and them trusting Nick to hit shots. And I know you're a big Jordan guy, so how did you feel seeing him have this good of a game?
Yeah, no, I just thought, like, obviously you need, I don't know what is going on. You need your Dain is who Dain is going to be. Dain is a phenomenal basketball player. And so you always need one of the other two bigs to step in, whether it's Musa, whether it's Nick, and of late the past 2 games, Dink Yates has come in and added some flavor to the team and what they've done on the floor. And so, no, is this something that we should have expected from Nick every single game this year? No, I do like what I saw out of Nick, in that it didn't feel like he was like forcing things to happen. He was making hard cuts, using his size, a 6'9" frame, athleticism, and just making hard cuts and going up to the basket. He was a lot of off-ball movement, a lot of opportunities to get a lot of offensive rebounds. I think he had 9 rebounds in the game. I don't know how many offensive rebounds he had, but it just seemed like his activity and his length were effective. And sometimes the way that Nick has played in previous games, he's kind of taken away he's basically alleviated some of the size. He's like said, I'm going to play smaller than what I am. And I felt like today he played as big as he is and did well. Like, should we expect next game if he scores 5 points and gets 9 rebounds? And is that a bad game for Nick? No, I just think it's game by game by game. But I like what I saw at him today, because there was a clear advantage he had on the glass and a clear advantage he had in his size that caused problems for Rice.
I mean, this is what happens when Nick Jordan plays like a power forward instead of a shooting guard.
Right.
And he's been playing like a shooting guard for about 75% of the season. And 25% has been him actually playing like a power forward. And when he plays like his position and his size and his skill set calls for him to play, he plays well, especially against American Athletic Conference competition.
Right.
It's all about finding the consistency for him and the ability, I think, mentally to not take yourself out of what you're capable of doing. I mean, I know Jordan. I know he loves to try to 3-ball and try to handle the ball at the top of the key and things like that. Really try to expand his skill set, because that's what a lot of the big men love to do these days. But I think Jordan, a game like this really has to show him, hey, this is what you can do.
Yes.
If you stick with what you're good at here.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, very well said. We'll talk about Nick further as we go through the show. I'm confident. I do want to talk about the game a little bit, because Memphis started this game, I thought, really well. I thought you couldn't really ask for a better start from Memphis. They were up by 12-3 at the under 16 media timeout. They were up as much as 21-12 later on at the under 12 media timeout. And
it was 21-9. It was
21-9 under 12. Thank you. And so Memphis was playing really good basketball, but then you look up and then all of a sudden it's a 2-point game. What was it as simple for y'all as the refs just started letting Rice back into the game and they were hitting their shots, or was it Memphis defense, or what was it for y'all that allowed Rice to, stay within touching distance for most of the first half?
Well, Memphis undoubtedly played worse defensively after that point. You can't put it all on the officials, even though they clearly controlled more of the pacing of this game. That was the refs' biggest impact overall. I feel like Rice would have found a way to get back into the game regardless. Let me tell you, look, if Rice had a little bit more talent, they would be lethal right now because they are so well coached. It's insane.
Yeah.
Rob Lanier is great. Like, he is genuinely great. Like, this Rice team, they were 2-4 in their 6 games after the first matchup with Memphis earlier this month, but they were still 101st in Bart Torvik in that stretch. And the reason being is that this team is playing good ball right now. It just is. It's not turning in the wins because they don't have the talent to overcome the heat most nights. But this Rice team is extremely scrappy. They're well coached, and they just know how to play the right way. So I feel like they would have found a way to get back into this game regardless. The officials obviously helped things in their case for sure. But, yeah, no, it wasn't just the refs. Rice just genuinely outplayed Memphis 4 times in that first half there.
Do y'all remember the SMU team, when Rob Lanier was the coach there, and they had Tyreek Smith and they had some other Zurich Phelps, I think, played for that team.
Yeah, I mean, it was literally last year, so yeah.
Oh, was it last year? I thought it was 2 years ago. My bad.
No, it was last year. No.
Okay, well, they were an unbelievably good defensive team, and it really did feel like SMU was poised for some good things, and then they decided to do their thing and go to the ACC. Leave the American Athletic Conference, and for some reason, the big dogs at SMU felt like they needed a better coach than Rob Lanier. They needed a bigger name, a better whatever, and they fired him. And he is a very good coach. Like he is a very good coach. And you heard the broadcast. I was watching the game from home tonight. You heard the broadcast, man. They, glowed about Rob Lanier and what he can do. And I do think it's only a matter of time if given the opportunity with, NIL opportunities. I do think the one thing that Rice has as its disadvantage is they have a very stringent acceptance policy in terms
right. Yeah. And they don't have NIL because it's an academic institution. Rice doesn't have NIL.
Okay. So it's going to be tough for them there. Right. But
yeah.
But Rob Lanier is a great coach, and I think he made some adjustments and did some things to get them back in the game. And Denver Anglin made some 3-point jumps, made some 3-pointers in that. Like the college basketball is a game of runs, and those kinds of things happen, right? Like those kinds of things, those runs in the middle of the first half happen.
Yeah, and Memphis also struggled to hit anything from deep, which is, for whatever reason, a theme that we see from Memphis in the first half of games, where Memphis doesn't shoot the ball well from 3, but in the second half, it starts to flow a little bit better. I mean, and Memphis shows why they're right now.
It didn't flow better tonight.
It didn't flow better in the second half.
It didn't flow better tonight, but in the past, it would flow better in the second half, and they'd actually hit threes. But today, it didn't happen. But I don't know. Memphis struggled again from 3 in the first half. So that definitely was a cause for it as well. But yeah, I echo everything y'all said about Rob Lanier. I think he's a great coach. Defensively, I thought his game plan against Memphis was really good. They didn't allow anything easy on the perimeter. They did a good job doubling Dain when they could. We'll talk about Dain in a sec. But I thought their half-court defense on Memphis was really solid. So yeah, Rob's a great coach, and Rice they had every chance to win this game. Memphis, like you said, Roman, if Rice were just more talented, they probably would have won this game. But at the end of the day, Memphis' talent still prevailed.
If Rice were more talented, they would have won a lot of games at this point. Not just at least one against Memphis. But speaking on Dain, I feel like him getting that second foul very early in the first half and subsequently sitting out the rest of the period, I think that also played a pretty big factor in Rice's ability to get back into the game, because like Memphis was just dominating, because Rice had no answer for Dainja. Dainja scored 6 total points against Rice the first time. And tonight he had 7 in the first 4 minutes. So he was set for a monster day. And he still had a pretty monster day, but he was set for a 20-plus point outing, easy, with maybe even a 30-point outing with the way he was playing to start. But the fouls kind of upended him in the middle of the half there, and he sat out for a very significant amount of time. And look, we can give Dink Yates all the credit we want to, but you'd rather have guys like Dainja in there. And because of that, Rice, at least that helped Rice get back into it as well.
Yeah, I thought Memphis' half-court offense was much more stagnant when Dain wasn't on the floor for that stretch in the first half. Like you said, they struggled really mightily to get good looks. Musa couldn't catch. He went back to not being able to catch things, and PJ and Tyrese and Dante Harris and Baraka, they couldn't create the dribble penetration that we were used to seeing. Kobe Riders wasn't hitting threes, shots weren't falling. And so that's why we talked about Dain so many times on this show, so many times across Bluff City Media at this point. He is the great equalizer for Memphis in the half court. If he is the answer to the half court issues, to the half court questions that people have about the Memphis Tigers, because he can just get you a bucket at basically any point in time. He's an absolute menace in the paint, and Dain was incredible. I mean, absolutely insane. 25 points, 10 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, 3 blocks. Again, just stuffing the stat sheet. I mean, what more can we say about Dain? Kenny, give me your thoughts on his game.
Well, I do have a question just on a strategy side.
I gotta go, y'all. Penny's here.
Cool.
All right, cool.
All right, Roman. Appreciate you, man.
Hey, let's take a break real quick and let me try to fix these cameras real quick and then we'll come back. Is that cool?
All good, bro. Always.
All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll have this discussion about Dain and all that kind of stuff. But I'm going to try to fix these cameras because it's pissing me off. So, all right, we'll be back in a second. I'm trying to fix it. Commercial.
On what planet do you look at a 25-year-old basketball player who resume says 2-time All-Star, 2-time All-NBA defensive team? He's got that twice. He'll have that twice. He'll make that this year. 2-time defensive player of the year or All-NBA. And that could be all of those. It could be defensive player of the year and All-NBA, right? At what point do you look at a player who that's his resume and question anything about what you're about to pay him, who's 25 and you know he's going to get better on that contract?
Do you know what the narrative about the Memphis Grizzlies would be if they didn't sign Jaren Jackson Jr. to this contract?
We are farm league. That we are
poverty ass
yep.
franchise.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Then there's going to be all this talks about how can we get Ja out of there? How can we get Jaren out of there? Like,
and also,
man.
But also, if they don't offer him the Supermax, when Ja Morant time come up, what he gonna think about?
Yeah, we're looking broke, man. We're looking broke as hell.
Tune in to The Anthony Sane Show, Wednesdays and Fridays at 12 p.m. weekly on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
Is this a moment, potentially, that could change the mojo of this team?
Could, yes. Could it be? Yes. It's hard to say. With they've had what felt like sparks throughout the season, and they haven't really tended to carry over. But the main thing is, can it spark Ja Morant?
Right.
That's it.
That's the biggest thing.
It's the only thing. It's the only thing this team is missing. For this team to be the best that it can be, you're really just missing a locked in, engaged, full throttle Ja Morant.
The way he can control the basketball and control the game will be how the Grizzlies go. If he can control the ball and he can do it like that on a consistent basis, and just getting into the middle of the defense, that will be where this team succeeds the most. So we'll see.
Tune in to the Grizz 901 postgame show, live after every Grizzlies game on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
I haven't been able to fix it yet, so because I didn't want to mess it up. Give me one. So here's basically what's going on here. StreamYard did some stuff and fixed. They added some like different stuff to the like in beta, in terms of like different features you can do here. Okay. And I got on tonight to do the show with you, and I was like, oh, let's try some of this out before we test it. And so that's what's going on. So I apologize. We were trying to add comments to the thing, and it was like cutting us out. So anyway, we are a professional bunch of people over here at Bluff City Media, and I want to thank y'all for tuning in with us as y'all see us be as professional as we can possibly be. So we're back, baby. Let's talk some Dain Dainja.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, Dain went out with like 10 minutes left in the first half, and there was a clear. They were up 21-12 when he went out, and just the way that the game was being played, it clearly impacted the Tigers' offense and how they were running. Tonight was one of those nights where it was very clear that the ball needed to go through Dain and let the offense run through Dain. You saw what happened in the second half when he actually got to play again. The offense looked that much better because he was, number one, unguardable in the post, and they were having to double, triple team him, and so he was able to pass out of the post and just do. And I think those are kind of signs of things you can expect to happen in the tournaments as they start to happen. But I have a question for you, strategy question. If you're Penny Hardaway, do you? And I don't think it's a bad decision either way. Would you have taken Dain out with 2 fouls at that point in the first half, and made him at least sit for the last 10 minutes of the first half, or would you have tried to keep him in?
I mean, I hate to give such a crappy answer. It kind of just depends on the matchup, on who we're playing, on the lead, on the score. It's hard to give a blanket statement on that, but I do feel like in this game where the refs were calling basically everything on Memphis, anytime Dain Dainja breathed on somebody or players just breathed on somebody, they call a foul on them, then I don't hate Penny sitting Dain with the 2 fouls, because if he gets a third, then you got to really manage his minutes in the second half, and who knows how tight the game is. So in the context of how this game was being reffed, I'm cool with Penny sitting Dain when he had the 2 fouls. But now if it's a different game where you kind of, the flow of the game is different, and the way the ref is calling the game, it's different, then keep him out there and trust your guy. Because, you know, when they played FAU at FAU, Dain had 4 fouls with like 16 minutes in the second half.
Yeah.
And Penny left his ass in there. And
and he played the entire game. Ended the game with 4 fouls. Yeah.
It was incredible by Dain to be so disciplined and realize, all right, like, I'm just going to be as disciplined as a basketball player as I possibly can.
Right.
And that was also Penny trusting his guy that he wasn't going to do something stupid. But in this game, though, I think Penny trusts Dain completely.
He didn't trust the refs.
Yeah.
Yes. I say this to my 13-year-old daughter all the time. I give her all these instructions on how to be careful when she goes out into this dangerous world that we live in, right? And I tell her all the time, it's not that I don't trust you, it's that I don't trust them, right? Yeah. And that's what this situation was tonight, I think, for Dain. Because if you think about those 2 fouls that he picked up in the first half, it was him turning and running up the court, and the little guard just falling down, right?
The second foul on Dain, the dude gets the rebound, and Dain like goes over the ball, and like the guy waits for Dain to land, and then Dain lands on him, and he falls to the ground, and the ref calls the second foul. I'm like, come on, bro, what is Dain supposed to do? Like,
supposed to do? Yeah,
it's terrible. It's terrible. So yeah, I'm sorry to cut you off, but I'm with you.
No,
in this
good.
context, I think you said him.
Yeah, and I think it's probably more than likely, and I know Coach Wayne Kelly said, "Oh my gosh, it's happened." Coach Wayne Kelly, I was glad Penny didn't leave him in. He would have gotten the third one in the first half. Yeah, more than likely he would have. I am so at StreamYard. They have completely messed up this program. Sorry, I'm kind of fixated. My brain is completely fixated on trying to make sure this thing doesn't fall apart on us right now. But no, I obviously, though, like, Dain being out for those 10 minutes, it was an awesome opportunity to see Nick Jourdain step up and do what he did. Like, Nick played a fantastic game, filled in the rebounds, got the points that Dain might have been able to pick up during that time. But yeah, I mean, I think clearly with the way that the refs were calling that game, it had to be like, I think that was the proper decision to make to pull him. I wonder Wayne Kelly, Tech 101, test before live deployment. You ain't never. I will never make that mistake again. But no, I do think that is what is the way that it was being called. They were clearly looking to set some kind of precedent, I guess, in terms of how they were going to call the big bad Tigers against the poor Rice Owls. You know what I'm saying? Like that's a 1000% what it felt like the entire game. Like we don't want to see these poor Rice Owls get blown out. So let's start calling this game and basically just impact the game in such a way that it's like it was hard to watch that first half. Like,
yeah,
it was not good basketball.
No, it was very difficult to watch. There's no question about it. I do want to transition to this though, because this is another instance where Memphis did a really good job prevailing through adversity in a basketball game.
Yes.
Though, yes, obviously we know Memphis lost to Wichita State, and that was a close game. But also, and if they just were able to inbound the basketball with 29 seconds left, they would have won that game. So yes, they didn't come away with that win. But throughout the season, though Memphis has had a good amount of close games, some close calls against lesser opponents, it's enough. And then tonight, where they had to deal with basically playing 3 more people, they have to play 8 people, the Rice, and then 3 refs. And tonight, Memphis, they still persevered and they still focused on winning the game when it really mattered most. The run Memphis went on to put an exclamation mark on this game and basically say to us that, yeah, those refs were bad. We recognize it. I'm PJ Haggerty. I got frustrated. I got called for a tech. By the way, Kenny, that was the most understandable technical foul of all time. Like
1000%.
The most understandable, like, yeah, pop off, PJ. You deserve all of that reaction. No issue with that tech at all. But yeah, we're emotional. Yes, this is bothering us. But look, we got to win this game. We got to lock in these last few minutes where it's basically a tie ball game. We can't lose this game, y'all. We are way better than them. And we have bigger goals than just beating Rice. We can't lose this. And they did it. And so I do think you have to credit Memphis for showing perseverance, getting a W when it mattered. And I think that'll only bode well as Memphis keeps moving forward through the rest of the season and hopefully with success in March.
Yeah, I think the Tigers showed a level of toughness tonight that was good to see, right? Like a level of resilience and perseverance tonight that was good to see. And the fact is they ultimately ended up covering the game or covering the spread and doing what they needed to do metrics wise to not hurt them entirely. But yeah, I think without a doubt, like, I mean, the score was, it got tight, man. Like it was, what was it at? It was 70 all with 3 minutes left in the game. And after that, Tyrese Hunter stepped in, made a layup, made a nasty, that move that he made was incredible. PJ Haggerty made a layup. Dain made a layup. Dain made a dunk. Nick made a few free throws. I think he made 3 free throws, and then PJ made a layup. And Nick and Dain in that time period had a couple of blocks to really seal the deal to put them ahead to ultimately win the game 84-72. Your guys that are your guys stepped up in the last 3 minutes of that game and said, "Put this team on our back, and we're going to make this happen." And I think that is a really good sign, because they could have easily wilted and it could have easily gone to overtime. It could have easily ended up the way that all of us with 3 minutes left in the game were like, "Oh shit, this is how it's going to end." But the perseverance that the Tigers showed in those last 3 minutes against an inferior opponent, I get it. But at that point, it was just 2 basketball teams playing each other. 3 minutes left in the game, tied up 70-70. It was anybody's ball game. And they put their foot on their throat and said, "No, we're the big dogs here." I think that's a really good sign for this team.
Yeah, 100%. We've said it before, and this is not to talk crap on last year or whatever, but it's still a fair sentiment. Last year's team may not have won this game. And last year's team, they couldn't beat Rice at home, so it's fair to think that, well, they wouldn't have won this game again because they did lose to Rice at home last year.
Yeah.
The group of guys that Penny has now, I think they are very mentally tough. I think they've proven it throughout the year that they have a certain level of maturity, a certain level of mental toughness that's needed to win big time games in the AAC tournament and hopefully come NCAA tournament time too. So I understand why people would be frustrated about it being so nip and tuck for a while, but I'm a positive guy. I'm a glass half full kind of person, and I think this should give you confidence that when push comes to shove in these tight moments, you can trust these Tigers to make the right decisions and to win these types of basketball games. So I think you do still have to give Memphis credit for pulling away and putting Rice away when it really mattered the most at the end of the game. When at the end of the day, you just got to win these games. I said it on Twitter before the game started. Just win these games. We would all love a 35-point blowout against Rice. Obviously, we would, but at the same time, just keep winning. Just keep winning these basketball games. And if they do that, everything is ahead of Memphis. Everything they want to achieve: regular season AAC championship, AAC tournament title, making a run in March. All of those things are ahead of them. They just got to keep winning. They just got to keep going.
I think to that point, like everybody, like fans want to see blowouts, right? Like fans want to see, man, beat them by 40 points, beat them by 35 points, beat them by whatever. And I get that. I understand that. That would be nice, right? But there is something about seeing we're getting into the postseason, right? And there is, for the Tigers to go as far as we would like to see them go, and that I think that honestly they can go. They are talented enough, have all the right pieces, have the right age of their players. They have the talent level there. To see them go as far as I think they can go, you're gonna have to be able to play in close games, right? You're gonna have to be able to play in those kind of knockdown, drag out fights. Did I expect it to be against Rice? No, but I'll say this: it was nice to see the Tigers respond, right? Like it was nice to see them, because now we kind of know, right? Like now we kind of know, okay, this team is in a battle. How are they going to respond? Are they going to wilt or are they going to step up? And because that's, as you get into the NCAA tournament and as you start to play, whether it be in the round of 32 or the round of 16, whatever it may be, you're going to play games that are close. And so I think we can honestly look at this game and say, while it was against an inferior opponent, and there are a lot of reasons to why this game was close, we now know how the Tigers respond in close games. That's helpful. I think that's good. Hey, we are a metrics analytics podcast, right? Like that's that's the only thing we know about. That's all we ever talk about. Now we have data, Francis. Now we have some data on how the Tigers are going to respond in the midst of a battle.
Yep, I hear you. 100%. I hear you. So talk to me. Give me your player of the game, Kenny. I know it should be easy, but give it to me.
Okay. I mean, honestly, I'm a weirdo until probably 5-6 minutes left in the game. Nick Jourdain was my player of the game.
Yeah, totally fair.
Because I just thought he provided so much that he made up for some of those lost Dain Dainja minutes. He made up the things that he did. He kept possessions alive. He just did a lot of really good things for the Tigers. He produced at a level that he doesn't normally produce at. And so I was perfectly willing to say Nick Jourdain was my player of the game, but it's Dain Dainja. Dain is dominant.
Come on. Yeah, come on.
I just love, there is nothing that gets my juices flowing as a basketball watcher than to see really good post play. And I don't know if I've seen a big in college have the bag he's had in a very long time.
Yeah.
Like
It's
In
tough.
the second half, he came down, I think the second or third possession in the second half. He came down on the left block, kind of a step out from the left block, caught the ball, faced up, did a little shimmy, crossover, spin, up and under. That was one of the filthiest post moves I've ever seen in my entire life. And so Dain is showing himself to be somebody who has not only has the bag to be one of the more dominant players, post players in college basketball, but he's shown the willingness to play defense. He had 2 block shots at the end of the game. What's the big knock on him? He's only 6'9". Yeah, did you see him rebounding today? Did you see the rebounds? The way that he imposed his will on the glass, his ability to just stretch defenses with passes. Like he had a pass in the post, out from the post, where he spun to the middle, came back, and threw a float pass to Tyrese Hunter, like bounce pass to the top of the key when Tyrese was on the wing. But he saw Tyrese moving and threw him open to get a shot off. Like, that's not what bigs do. Bigs don't do that. They get the ball and they pass off to a wide open guy. He, in the post, banging with dude in the post, turned and passed to a dude to get him open. Like, his skill set and what I'm seeing in him, a flip of a mindset of I am the best player on the court when I'm out here, is showing itself out these last few games. And tonight he was absolutely the player of the game.
Yeah, I full in with you, Kenny. I also want to show love to the comments too. Timo said co-MVP Jordan and Dain. So yeah, I loved it. That works for me too.
I'll take
Coach
it.
Kelly said player of the game for him was Nick Jordan overall. We'll talk more about Nick in a moment, but we'll talk about Nick for sure. Jacqueline said Jordan first half, Dain second half, 2 players of the game as Kenny leaves the stream. There he is. Yeah, so I can't agree with you more about Dain, Kenny. We've waxed poetic about him on this show so many times. I've talked about how impressed I am with this guy ad nauseum at this point. But he keeps getting better, Kenny, right?
Oh,
he's getting better as the season goes on. And I know that when he got inserted into the starting lineup, he looked like a different guy. He was more dominant on the offensive side. He was looking like more of a complete player. But I genuinely think Dain's just gotten better as seasons worn on. He's gotten better as a passer. He's gotten better as a defender. He's gotten better as a rebounder. He's just gotten better as a straight up basketball player as the season has gone on. And I'll tell you what, man, that is a scary thing for the rest of this country. That's a scary thing. I recognize this is the AAC. I get it. I know this is not the best teams in the world that Memphis is facing. I know that these teams may not have the most talented bigs either, but I don't care. Dain can do this against anybody in the country. Dain can make anybody look like food in the post, because that's just how freaking talented this guy is. His first step for a guy that big, come on. It's so quick. It's so fluid. It's so agile. Yeah. It's a beautiful first step. And then, like you mentioned what he can go to his left hand. He can go to his right hand. His drop step is super clean too. Just that little extra drop step to create that angle, and he can finish from anything. Gosh.
I think honestly, that's why. I think honestly, that is why, and I love this kid, so I'm not going to talk trash about him. I love this kid. That's why it's such a drastic difference between watching Dain in the post and watching Musa in the post, right?
Yeah,
like
Musa,
Musa does a lot of really good things on defense, and he can get rebounds and all that kind of stuff. But we see more around college basketball the type of post play that Musa provides, right? Dain is an anomaly to me in terms of his offensive ability. His first step is unguardable. Like if he gets you leaning one way and goes the opposite way, it is Over.
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 It's over. It's done. And he uses ball fakes also so well. He had Jordan in the short corner, butt naked, wide open, just wide open. And Dane just ball faked it to Jordan to get the defender leading like just a little bit. And he went middle and finished with his left. I'm like, come on, it's just so good. He makes me so happy watching Dane play basketball. And the way he's able to stuff a stat sheet with his passing, with his rebounding, with now his effort on defense too. I mean, again, just to pull up his stat line again, Dane, he had 3 blocks and 1 steal. Last game, he had another great stat stuffing night for Memphis. Like this is just kind of who Dane is. I know Roman gave me a little bit of crap when I said that you can make the argument that Dane's the best player on this team, and that he has been for a good amount of time.
For a good amount of time.
I
don't think it's a tough argument at this point, because we have seen PJ struggle, and a lot of it is, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it about the fouls in a second, but a lot of it is the way that PJ plays, and the calls that he's not getting. What we're seeing out of Dain is that distribution that he provides, that the ability for the offense to flow through him is just so unique. You know, I want to say this real quick. We got the great Daniel Greer is in the comments, and he's asking us, have we talked about Duke yet? No, we haven't talked about Duke yet. I don't know if we will, Daniel. But I'll say this, man. I'll say this. The Tigers are about to head into the postseason, and so are the Grizzlies. And this is the greatest time of the year in sports, when the NBA postseason starts and when March Madness starts. I love it so much. Grizz 901 is the live post-game show for the Grizzlies for after Grizzlies games, hosted by Daniel Greer and Nathan Qualls on the Bluff City Media YouTube page. Every game after every Grizzlies game, they're on there. Grizz 901 post-game show is the reason why Tigers Live exists. And so all I'll say is, please watch them. Go hang out. Daniel is a wizard with this StreamYard. I'm trying to learn from him. Daniel's a wizard with this thing. His show looks amazing. But Daniel is awesome. He's in the comments. He said, go like this thing. He said, I heard the like button is broken, but close out the chat, check it out, see if it is. But Daniel's awesome at what he does. And so y'all go check out Grizz 901 after every Grizzlies game. So anyway, just get that real quick plug. He's the man. So
he is. DG is the man. We know that for sure. I do want to shout out this comment though, because I like Jacqua giving a little rub back to DG. We have an assistant coach from Duke. So there's the Duke moment for you, Daniel.
There it is. It
is.
Hey,
we talked about Duke.
Apparently Nolan Smith decided he wanted to come and be an assistant coach under a real coach and not some Boy Scout named John Shire, Bilbo Baggins, Baggins. Yeah. So there's your Duke moment. There's your Duke moment for this show.
I do. Before we move on from Dain, I have to give my moment of the game, because it involves Dain Dainja. Shocker, I know. But there was. Let me see if I can pull up the play, because I had game notes. I was telling Kenny before we got on. I do game notes as I do for every game. And right at the 2-minute mark of the game, my computer just decided to restart. So I lost about the last 8 minutes of my game notes. That pissed me off. So awesome. let me go through this play by play to find it really quick. Okay, so yeah, about 2:15, 2 or so minutes, 2:15 left, 70-72. Memphis was up just 70-72. They ran a play. So they had Dain Dainja basically at the top of the free throw line, just slightly above the free throw line. Hunter to Dainja's right, PJ to Dainja's left. Hunter sets a rub screen on PJ Haggerty's man, cuts diagonally and sets a rub screen on PJ's man. PJ comes off the rub screen, cuts around Dain, going to Dain's left. And it's just a wide open layup for PJ Haggerty, because Penny Hardaway knew that all the attention was going to be on Dain. So what are you going to do? Let's run this play through Dain Dainja, and let them cut off of him. Honestly, treat Dain kind of like how Denver treats Nikola Jokic.
Right.
Just cut off of Jokic, just cut off of Dain, and there's going to be a wide open guy because they won't know what to do. They're going to be so worried about what is Dain going to do with the ball in his hands. And it was just a wide open layup for PJ Haggerty. And after that, Memphis continued their run, and this game was over. So for me, that's my moment of the game. Do you have one, Kenny?
I was gonna say the start of the second half when Dain came back in the game. That was my moment of the game. I think
I gotta take these numbers off.
Am I back in? Yeah. I think for me, it was the start of the second half when Dain came back in the game. Honestly, like that play was stuck out to me as well. Dain made such a smart decision to get rid of the ball, to get the ball to PJ.
Yep.
Let's not do any more of the comments for right now because
I'll take them off.
Yeah.
Yep.
Daniel, good luck with StreamYard. They did some beta stuff and it's jacking with us. Anyway, yeah, but for me, it was getting Dain back in the game and just exerting the dominance again, right? Like immediately coming into the game, like he started off the first half dominating. He started off the second half dominating. Yeah, it just, to me, it was just the minutes that Dain played, the dominance that he that he showed was just incredible. So that to me was the moment of the game. But I do agree with you. That play was awesome. I love the ingenuity in which Penny uses his guys, right? Like his sets have matured, right? Like that's a very pro level mature set that he ran through your guys, through your three main guys. That to me is, you don't see that kind of stuff in college basketball much. And I appreciate what Penny Hardaway is doing with his guys out there. So
yeah, no question at all. Let's talk PJ Haggerty, Kenny. 21 points, 5 boards, 5 assists, 7 for 18 from the floor. He didn't hit a 3 tonight. He was 7 for 9 from the free throw line. So he was able to get to the line today, but I feel like he should have had like 15 free throw attempts, quite frankly. Like nine still feels way too little for the amount of free throws that PJ had. Talk to me about how you feel about PJ's game moving forward, especially since refs seemingly are not going to give him the whistle that he deserves.
Do you think it's going to stay that way in the postseason?
Your guess is as good as mine, man. I really don't know. I hope not. I just think he deserves to get fouls called on him because he's so aggressive and he does get fouled. And does he embellish a little bit? Yeah, he does embellish, but at the same time, you look at these plays where just nothing gets called and it's just like, come on. There's one that really sticks in my mind. PJ finished the layup over the Rice big and he got hacked to the ground.
Just crushed.
There was just nothing called. Like you got to call something there. Like I get it. Refs are probably talking to each other, saying like, you got to watch for PJ Haggerty. He's going to do X, Y, Z. But look, man, he deserves these foul calls because of how aggressive he is and how he does create the contact. And he's such a good player at getting downhill and creating contact. Yeah, I hope it doesn't continue, but your guess is as good as mine.
I just think that there is, especially in college basketball, refs tend to be very emotional. And you can see it as somebody who sits on the baseline at most of the Memphis Tiger home games. You can see the refs out there getting emotional. They get emotional in the game, and you see there's just a lack of even like the game is getting, the guys are getting so good at fouling and getting so good at, like, they're so big and strong in the way that they touch and the way that they do these different things. You have to pay attention to this stuff. I feel like one of the things that you see in college refs so much is that they're looking for one type of foul and not looking at the entire body of work, right? They're not looking for the forearm shivers in the lower back as a guy's going to the basket, right? They're looking for the up top. Like, are you hitting his hands? Like, are you hitting his arms? Like, I'm looking for the charge block calls. Like, that's the easy stuff that is just obvious. But basketball has developed so much in the way that people are the way they utilize their the way they foul people. And I just don't think refs are watching for that. And that to me is a big concern, especially when you have somebody like PJ Haggerty. We had a guy, so we have a Bluff City Media Discord that it's popping at all times of the day, but especially during games, right? Like, and in the FAU game, we were seeing some obvious bad calls not happening or we were seeing some bad non-calls for PJ Haggerty. He ultimately ended that game with 0 foul shots in the entire game, which is absurd with the way that he plays. And so there's one of the users in there, a guy named D Grums, who's an economist, brilliant dude, talks about he knows numbers. He loves the numbers game, and it drives me crazy. He put up the 2025 game data, and I would love to put it up on the screen so people could see it, but I think StreamYard might fall apart. So I'm not going to do that.
Is that
yeah, like I think it might fall apart. But if you look at his, I just want to run through some of these games, some of these non-conference games at the beginning of the year. Against Missouri, he had 11 free throws shot, 12 free throws against UNLV, 14 against UConn, 12 against Louisiana Tech, 13 against Arkansas State, Virginia he had 11, Mississippi State he had 11, then he had 10. So then now we're getting into the conference play. Since the Charlotte game, I think that was, I don't remember when that was exactly. He has had, he had 13 foul, that they lost to Temple. He had 13 free throws in that game. After that game, Charlotte all the way to today, he had 6 free throws, 5 free throws, 2 free throws, 4 free throws, 2 free throws, 3 free throws, 7 free throws, 6 free throws, 0 free throws, and then tonight he had 9. There is a incredibly drastic. It's not that he's not getting the amount that he had in the non-conference. It's the drastic change that makes you just go, what has happened here? Like, PJ hasn't changed the way that he plays. Nope. Like, guys aren't guarding him any differently. So what has been the change? And what really struck me was a few games ago, and I think it might have been let me see if I can find it real quick. It was a road game because I was watching it on TV. It might have been the what was it? Maybe the Wichita State game that they lost. One of the commentators, the play-by-play guy, said referees in the AAC are not going to give PJ Haggerty these calls. And I was like, wait a second. Like, why did he just randomly just say that so strongly? Right? Like, because I didn't feel like it had been a narrative all year that PJ was getting. I didn't hear other coaches talking about it. I didn't hear national media talking about it. It was just all of a sudden this dude who covers games for the AAC was saying refs in the AAC aren't going to give these foul calls to PJ. And I was like, that's weird. Like, that felt really strange to me when I heard that. And then these numbers come out and you go, there is no way that there's not some kind of conversation. And I know we want to blame Tim Pernetti for everything, right? Like, we want to say he's at fault for everything. I don't think Tim Pernetti reached out to the referees and said, stop giving PJ Haggerty fouls. But I absolutely believe that there's been conversations among the refs to say, knock that stuff off, right? Like, we're not going to let him get away with that. And I think the numbers prove it. And I don't know. I just don't know how you go from being the second leading free throw shooter in the free throws attempted in the country last year, only behind 7'5" giant Zach Edey, to having 11, 12, 13 free throws a game during the non-conference, to having multiple games where you don't even reach 5.
Yeah.
I get PJ's frustration. I get it. Now, I would say this. PJ seeks contact. And when he thinks contact is coming, because guess what? It comes, it happens, he gets hit, he tends to try to flow away from it, right? Like he tends to try to flail out of it or embellish the contact a little bit. You saw him adjust on that in this game.
Yeah.
Where he started going strong and kind of fighting through the contact, made a couple of buckets that still weren't called as fouls, but then also made a few and ones that and got a few foul calls because he was aggressively going towards the basket. But I just think it is I don't blame him for being frustrated with the way that he's being called right now.
Nope. I made the comparison before. I'll do it again. He's getting the Ja Morant treatment in the NBA. Straight up, straight down. He's getting the same thing that Ja gets in the NBA. They're not calling fouls on Ja and they're not calling fouls on PJ. It is just kind of is what it is. But that's why I said before that you have to give credit to this team for being able to persevere through all of that in this game. PJ persevering through that in this game. Dain, you saw it. You could see Dain's expression throughout the entire game. It was basically like quiet anger is what I would describe his emotions as in this game. Controlled anger, because he didn't look happy at all with how this game was being called, with the refs or anything, with how I'm sure the refs were treating his own teammate, PJ Haggerty. But Dain was like, I'm just going to show it in my play and let my aggression out that way and just put up 25 on y'all. And then PJ, same thing. I'm just gonna put up 22 on y'all, an easy light 22. Even though 22 with no 3-pointers, like just easy 22 for PJ Haggerty, because the mentality of these dudes, even dealing with these refs who were not good, is strong. They have a strong mentality throughout the whole roster. So I, as I mentioned before, you have to give this team credit for at the very least pulling away and getting this W against Rice today. But yeah, as you said, Kenny, I think it's just a conscious decisions by these refs that they're just not going to call PJ in a way that he should be called. I don't think there's any other way to explain it. I hope that changes a little bit, as we move forward. I hope he starts getting some calls that he deserves, because he does deserve them in my mind, in your mind, I think in a lot of people's minds as well. I want to ask you, Kenny, about Memphis's defense today, because I do think it's worth at the very least a discussion. Memphis, I don't think this was their best defensive performance really at all. I did think they struggled on the defensive end today. Rice did shoot only 41.4%, but that's because they couldn't hit a three to save their lives. They were 5 for 21 from three. And yes, the refs calling every foul in Memphis didn't help either. But I do think there were moments in the game where Memphis just couldn't get a stop, especially when it was going back and forth in the second half. Memphis continues to try and switch ball screens. Yeah. They'll hedge the big man really high, and that just naturally creates a switch on the ball screen, leaving either Haggerty or Hunter or Colby or Dante or whatever guard was guarding that man to be guarding the other team's big. And the opposing team does a good job swinging or just finding the big man posting on the little guy, and it just creates chaos on the back end. I know that was a big issue for them against Wichita State. Wichita State did a great job of targeting every time Memphis switched the ball screen, targeting Dante Harris in the post with Wichita State's big. I'm sure Penny talks about this. I'm sure they're going to watch film. I'm sure they're going to break this down, and hopefully they make adjustments. But I'll just ask you, Kenny, what, if any, concerns do you actually have about Memphis's defense?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there are some scheme things that bother me. I think the way that the Tigers tend to, when they do their three-quarter court press, the way that they gamble too much. So it was so funny. I was in the kitchen with my wife the other day, and I had a marker out with a piece of paper and was showing her the 1-3-1 press and was like, this is what they're doing. And this is
cool.
You see what happens when PJ tries to jump this pass and doesn't. Look at what happens. And she's like, look, it's a 3-on-2 at the end, and I'm like, that's exactly right. That's not good. I do think that there are some, I expected the Tigers to employ more of a zone defense than they have. They haven't been good at it because they give up way too many 3-pointers in their zone defense. They are. I am not a fan of switching in college basketball. I don't think you have to do that. I think you do that in the NBA because you've got guards who know how to exploit picks, right? Like they know how to exploit it to the highest degree. I don't like that the Tigers automatically switch those high screen actions, eyeball screens at the top of the key, because I think that what it allows is it just creates instant disadvantages for the Tigers, because they do have small, especially when Baraka or Tyrese or Dante especially is out there, because while they're willing defenders, you get a 6'9", 6'10" guy just rim running to the basket and the switch happens and they have to try to front or whatever, it's going to cause issues. I'm not a big fan of switching. I understand why you do it in the NBA. I don't think you have to do it because I don't think you have the knockdown shooters that you do in the NBA in college basketball, obviously. And then secondly, you don't have guards that know how to exploit those high ball screens as much as you do in the NBA. The best of the best play in the NBA. I do think it's a concern. I don't like the Tigers tend to give up really easy baskets. They tend to, there's stretches and lulls in games where it feels like teams are able to kind of get whatever they want. And then you just kind of rely on, okay, well, our offense will get us out of this, right? And then you rely on, those stretches, those bursts offensively to stop, the momentum that that your defense is kind of giving up. The problem is when you start playing better teams, especially in the postseason, you're gonna have issues coming back from that, right? Like I want to see, and Penny has talked about it numerous times this year, they've got to be able to guard their yard. I would love to see this team just straight up just play man-to-man defense, not switch, but get up and over, get under screens, and just stay on your man and guard your man, and see what happens, right? Like see what happens. But they definitely. There was a long period of time where I felt like at the beginning of the year, Dain struggled with that switch and getting back. He would tag and get back right to his big, and he struggled with that. Then he kind of fixed it. You felt kind of a shift in his willingness to sprint back and get back and not over commit to the tag. These last few games, they're getting burnt on that a few times, right?
And I fully agree with you that I think they just have to they just can't keep switching these ball screens like that. It just can't happen this often. They have to switch up their coverages, and I think just creates too many problems. I do see Jack Wall talking about Dink Yates. I think I love Dink. I thought he had more impactful minutes tonight again. So we have to shout out Dink Yates. Another impactful game from him. And so I'm happy to see him getting more run and Penny playing him in the rotation. Go ahead, Kenny.
Did you see Dink Yates? Did you see his comments at the weekly press conference, the weekly radio show that Penny does?
No.
He was the guest, one of the guest players that was there, Dain, and apparently I wasn't there. Roman told me that Dain got standing ovations and hoots and hollers and all that kind of stuff, which is just freaking awesome. I love that. Yeah. But Dink was there. He got his love. Jeff Brightwell, who's the host of that show, said, hey, Dink, did you expect to get in the game? And he said, no. He was like, when I saw Penny looking down at the bench at me, I was thinking to myself, whose popcorn is he looking at right now?
That's amazing.
I laughed so hard. I was like, that is classic. That is hilarious. But
yeah, I love that.
You also, real quick, did you hear that Dink got put on scholarship?
I did. Yes.
Yeah, man. So he was a walk-on, well-deserved, man. Just clearly he's been busting his ass in practice.
Got to be.
Like, clearly he's been doing well in practice. And that's one of the things that I know that we all know about Penny Hardaway. When you play well in practice and you show yourself to be available, he will give you minutes. And then if you do something with those minutes, you'll get more minutes, right? Like he is not afraid to tinker with his rotations when guys are starting to step up. And Dink is huge. He's just a big dude and is athletic and can move and plays hard. And so how does he not help? Especially when Dain goes down with 2 fouls, when you got to get Nick a blow, when you got to get Musa a blow, you got Dink Yates who can come in and is not going to give up a bunch of stuff. Now he had a really bad defensive possession, and then we didn't see him for the rest of the game.
Right.
But
we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
I was going to say that I think his foot speed guarding on ball, isn't the best. Just straight up foot speed guarding a guy like 1-on-1.
Right.
But that's not what you put Dink Yates in the game for. You put him in the game to guard another team's 4-man or a bigger 3. The guy who scored on Dink he had a great game, and he had legit foot speed and was able to attack and cause Memphis problems. Not just cause Dink problems, cause a lot of dudes problems for Memphis. Like he had some really crafty finishes. He showed good burst. I'm not going to get mad at Dink on that one at all. I just think you put him in the game to match up with another team's bigger 4 or a bigger 3, and he can hang with those dudes, and you can switch more when Dink's on the floor because he is more switchable, can guard more multiple positions. And I was really impressed again with Dink's performance, with his activity. He's a big, strong, athletic dude who, he had a nice dunk today. I think he hit a 3 in a game early in the year, if I remember correctly.
He did.
So if Dink is on the floor and another team runs a 1-3-1 zone, I don't know if you caught it, Kenny. Rice ran a 1-3-1 one time, or maybe 2, but there's one specifically where Dink was on the floor and Dink was wide open in the corner. I'm like, back to the Dink. He's wide open in the corner. They didn't even look his way.
They didn't even look his way.
They didn't even look his way. But I'm like, oh, he's there. Like he may be able to knock that down, and whatever offense you get from him is just a bonus. But I was happy with Dink and his activity. But
I'll say this: ESPN or the Memphis Tigers need to update his stats or his bio because they have him listed. I don't know. Is it Jaqua? Is that how you say his name? Jaqua like his Dink a 2 guard. Yeah. And I was like, nah, he's a big dude. He's not a 2 guard. And then I look at what they have him listed at. They got him listed at 6'5", 206. I'm telling you right now.
No.
That dude is not 6'5", and he's not 206.
He is not 206. There's just no world.
No. He is not a 6'5", 206-pound 2 guard. No. Nope. He is bigger than that, by far bigger than that.
Yeah, he looks legit 6'7", like 230. Yes. Like that's a big man on the floor. Like that's
seeing him up close and in person, like I do at the games. He reminds me of a much larger, thicker brother from Wichita State last year, shooter, the 3.
Crap, I can't remember his name.
Damn. Anyway. Guy from Wichita State, the shooter, supposed shooter, who came in and shot 30% lower than what he did at Wichita State, but whatever.
Oh, Jaquan
Walton. Yeah.
There you go, Jaquan Walton. Yeah.
He looks like a more developed size-wise of Jaquan Walton. That's what he looks like.
Yeah. I think that's totally fair. But no, I'm sure, again, Penny's a defensive coach. I think he's going to look at the film. They'll figure out ways to get the defense right. I'm not worried about it, but it's just something that I think is at least worth discussing. So before we get on up out of here, Kenny, I know that with the Memphis has 3 games left more in the regular season. They go at UAB on Sunday, then at UTSA, South Florida at home. Man, that UAB game is going to be. I mean, are you excited or what, man? That game is going to be something else.
Yeah, it's going to be an intense game. I'm excited to see the rematch between Dain and Yaxel. I think that environment's going to be great. I don't know what to expect from it. Like you would expect UAB is going to be a hostile environment. It's going to be, UAB is probably going to play their best games, but we'll see, man. I mean, UAB's playing good ball in the conference. They just are. So I think that they beat North Texas a few weeks ago on the 3rd of February. Lost to East Carolina on the road. Beat Rice 90-89 on the road. Smoked Temple, who's without Jamal Mashburn the third, which is sad. Is it junior or the third? Anyway, but they have a game Thursday against Wichita State. Wichita State's playing really good ball right now. They're on a streak. So it'll be interesting to see what that game is like, man. I'm excited to see what the Tigers do there. I think that's going to be a fun environment, and I would love to see the Tigers come out with a victory, man. I think they just have a better team. But that UAB environment will be intense, and it'll be a postseason type atmosphere.
Yep, amen to that. It should be a fantastic game. Atmosphere should be incredible. I mean, this is what college basketball is about. These types of games. These rivalry type road games. And I know that whether or not you think it's a rivalry or not, whatever, but it's still going to be a massive game. That crowd should be rocking. And, hopefully Memphis can get out of that one with a W. Either way, whatever happens, we'll be here talking about that game against UAB on Sunday afternoon. So before we get up out of here, Kenny, talk to me, let them know where they can find you, and talk to me about Bluff City. Let them know.
Yeah, man. You can find me at Kenny_BCM on Twitter or on X. Just check out our YouTube page, man, where you're going to find this, and we have all of our shows on Twitter as well. But man, come hang out in the YouTube space with us, man. We have a lot of shows coming out. We're entering into a really fun time of the year with Grizzlies. Our Grizzlies coverage, I think, is second to none. The way the guys that we have covering the Grizzlies. And I want to give a big shout out to Shamaria Wiseman, who is the BCM beat reporter for the Memphis Lady Tigers. She is a student. She is killing it in her first year as the beat reporter. She did an interview that dropped today with Tamika Whitmore, former Tiger. My era of when I was in college, she was a player at the University of Memphis and is getting her number retired by the University of Memphis on March 1st. And so Shamaria reached out to Tamika, got her on the show, and just killed the interview. She is a bright light in BCM's coverage of, and because let's just be frank, the Lady Tigers have had a rough year, and she has been consistent and giving really good content about the Lady Tigers. So check out her stuff. And yeah, man, just come hang out with us. We have a good time. So check out the Grizz 901 post-game show. Check out Anthony Sain's show, $2 Sports Show live at noon on Tuesdays and Thursdays. No Bluffing podcast on Mondays. The Night Court on Wednesdays. What else? What else do we have? Is that it? On the Bluff on Tuesdays. Tigers Untapped on Tuesdays. Man, if y'all are fans and y'all want to come hang out with two Tiger fans, the Tigers Untapped show is not, you're not going to get great analysis from us. We're just fans.
No, don't.
We're just fans. We're just fans who like to drink and talk crap to each other. So that's what we do over there. Great time, really good time. But if you're listening to this, we have 452 people watching it right now. We'll have well over 1,000 in the next day or two watching this. If you're watching this and you are someone who is in marketing for a company, you own a company, you have friends that love the Tigers, friends that love the Grizzlies, and you say, you know what, man, like these guys have a good following. They put out good content. We would love to advertise our company on their shows. Hit me up, kennystubblefield@gmail.com. We have incredibly fair rates in terms of sponsorship and promotion stuff and marketing. We can join a whole marketing campaign with you. We'll have a good time with it. So hit me up, kennystubblefield@gmail.com.
Awesome. Yes, sir. I echo everything Kenny said. Everybody who's tuning into the show, if you're on Twitter, head over to YouTube really quick. Hit that like button for us. If you're watching on YouTube, again, be sure to hit the like button as well. Subscribe to Bluff City Media. Turn on those notification bells so that way you know every single time an episode drops by Bluff City Media. So you get the notification and you turn that thing on, because the show's we got.
You're getting multiple daily. Like you're getting
Yes.
multiple new pieces of content every single day. So
Yep. And it's all fantastic. Again, shout out to all the amazing shows here at Bluff City. I'm just happy to be a part of this. And yeah, I have nothing but love for all of y'all to tune into the show. Like I said, subscribe to Bluff City Media. Turn on those alerts. You can find me on Twitter at Slugger Sports, at SLUGGA Sports. I'm Francis Carlotta. That's Cunning Stubblefield. We'll see y'all next time.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Tigers Live. If you enjoyed this episode, like and subscribe to Bluff City Media's YouTube page. For comprehensive coverage of all things Memphis sports, head over to www.bluffcitymedia.co and find out how you can become an insider. We will see you back here next time.